Hello YouTube, it's your buddy Choppadong. I'm coming at you with week 3 box checkers. We're going to talk defense, tight ends this week. On this video, we'll come back later. We'll do wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks. And to be honest with you, as lead editor of content and senior contributor and coach here inside DFSArmy.com, which, links all down there in the description or in the comments section. You know where to look for the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get that 20% off discount and become a member, because honestly, what you're getting ready to see is another Domination Station update coming, where the stacking tool is going to come out of beta, we believe, fairly soon, and that's going to revolutionize the way optimizers handle NFL stacking. And you're going to want to pay attention to a little bit of what I'm planning on doing, which is teaching the lower budget guys how to do a little bit of mass multi-entry. I'm not an expert at it, but my wheelhouse in DFS Army has always been take on a new project and teach people as I go, sort of blog along, if you will, and we'll all learn this thing together. Because I did a little bit with baseball on DraftKings, had some success that was kind of fun, but football's a little bit different animal because I'm stepping up beyond 20 max. I'm going to go into the nickels contest, of course, where it's cheap, where everybody can afford to play, and I'm going to go all the way up to 150 max for the foreseeable future here each week. So we're going to talk a little bit of narratives when we discuss these plays and we discuss the box checkers and trim the fat. And hopefully we take two angles at this, something that might be a little bit more of a GPP long shot, but something that might also be viable for cash. Because to win the larger 400,000 person contests, or to get deep into that top tenth of 1%, to really start unlocking a little bit of the money in the multipliers, you're going to have to pay attention to some ownership. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. Last week didn't work really well. I thought Drew Brees was going to be in a great spot, and it turned out that didn't happen. So it kind of shot that stuff in the foot. But I did have access to some Seattle and Pittsburgh game stacks. Those didn't do well because I didn't have the Russell Wilson side of it. I had the Big Ben side of it. But the San Francisco and Cincinnati game also shot out, so if you had the right side of it. But I didn't have very large exposure to those particular games, which would have made a difference in the success of the lineups too. But that's not what we're really here for. That's just kind of an ancillary, anecdotal type situation. We're going to dive in here and tear up these defenses and these tight ends. I've got the tight ends pulled up on the research station at DFS Army, and the reason why is this is last week's. We don't really need to worry about the defenses. The spreads are wrong, but we might need some of these numbers for tight ends. And honestly, we might not even need these numbers other than a little bit of salary, which isn't correct right now. But we might want to double check and look at what the slate looks like, or what the odds look like when it comes right down to it this week with the point spreads. And we're going to target big defenses that are big favorites, greater than 6 points. We're going to target low implied opponent points, and that's this column over here for the underdogs. So if we're looking at big favorites, we've got Green Bay, we've got Philadelphia, KC, Buffalo, all in play. Minnesota, of course, New England and Dallas in play. Tampa Bay in play, and then these others, and San Francisco in play. So what we're going to try and find, so we've already narrowed our list down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That doesn't seem like we've narrowed it down much. A lot of weeks we can narrow it down real tight very, very quickly. But we still need to narrow the field down a little bit. So we can go over here to the implied total, and we can cut down who has the big spread and who has an opponent with a low implied point total. And that would be Green Bay. I mean, if you wanted to play Philly, I'm not going to, really get mad at you. But under 18 is what I'm looking for. Under 20 is okay. Under 22 is okay if we get desperate. But I'm trying to stick under 18 with a larger than 6 point favorite as much as I can. Buffalo's borderline, but we like the defense, of course. Minnesota, of course, Dallas, and maybe San Francisco. So we're already down to 4 or 5 teams. That's plenty of defenses. Once we see pricing come up when the research station updates, we'll be able to look at which one's the cheapest one. Is it Green Bay? Is it San Francisco at home? Who's going to be the cheapest defense among the bunch? We know that Dallas and New England are going to be chalk. I think I just saw a stat where New England hadn't allowed a touchdown against them yet. So that's just crazy. But now you can kind of get an idea of what defenses you're looking at, and that's all the time that it really takes. Studies have shown that the inflection points for a defense that's going to perform well and get you about 10 points is greater than 6 point favorite, low implied team total of the opponent. and under 18 points. You get those two factors lined up, those are the defenses you should be considering for your cash games because they're in your top chalkier spots. Now, you want to run some narratives. You want to say, we're going to go up against some backup quarterbacks, et cetera, and take some different defenses. Be my guest. Save those for your tournaments, though. Save those for your MMEs. And if I'm going to do 150 lineups this week, I'm not going to get exposure to everybody because I'd be spread out too thin. I'm going to target the ones in the good spots, but then I will also include a Philadelphia, maybe a Kansas City because they're implied to score, they're favored. And I don't know if I would include Kansas City against Baltimore, but I might. You never know when you're going to get those pick sixes, and we need these teams that are going to be pinning their ears back and throwing the football as much as they can. Minnesota definitely, but they're probably a cash consideration. New England, I don't know that I'll use them in cash this week, even with this crazy, crazy number. I'll probably be focused more on Dallas. Tampa Bay would probably be a sneaky defense with the starting rookie quarterback taking Eli's place. Might even look at a Seattle against the backup in Bridgewater. These are the little bit places that might be a little bit lower owned that you can get some good exposure. Might bump your exposure to 5-6%, and grab 5 to 10 lineups out of 150 with those defenses paired with the rest of your ideas and your game stacks. Now, when we're looking at tight ends, we can also look at this exact same page because we know who the tight ends typically are in these offenses. We want home favored. We don't need home team for defenses, but for tight ends, we want home favored implied to score a lot of points. The exceptions are your George Kittles, your Travis Kelce's, the guys that are getting heavy targets no matter where they are because they're a huge focal point of the offense. But if you're looking to pay down for value, which we typically are at these volatile positions, we're going to look for the better indicators that we can find that are going to put these guys in stellar spots to perform. And that would be obviously Travis Kelce, but and we want implied over 24 points. So really, just about any of the favorites are going to apply most of the time as far as being over 24 points. The higher, the better. So Travis Kelce, maybe it's an Ertz day at home with Philly with Wentz throwing to him. I know that that's a little bit of a committee. You're going to have to check for targets, which is what that research station is going to help us with. I don't know that I would use a Buffalo tight end, but in a tournament, you might take a shot on one if you know his name. Ebron is a committee. They're favored. They're at home. They're not favored by a ton. Minnesota, Rudolph might be a GPP type of shot, a very, very low owned mass multi entry type of tournament play with, I mean, again, light exposure to these things. New England, sure, if you want to throw a tight end out there, go for it. But your Jason Witten probably is in a good place, and he's probably going to be low priced. He's in a very, very stellar spot. He's going to get a few targets and even down in the red zone. Now, I think it's going to be Zeke week, so I probably won't use Jason Witten as my cash tight end. As I'm looking through this page, I guess it would be Ertz for right now. Kelce, if I can afford it. But if I'm paying down, I want to pay down even further off of what Ertz is going to be priced at. OJ Howard at home, favored, implied to score over. There might be there might be one of your cash game considerations. Um, not at home is Carolina. They're out on the road in Arizona, so I probably wouldn't be using Greg Olsen, even though he's another one that factors in big. I don't know how many people will be chasing the Disley points, but you got to remember this. He got about 2 or 3 targets last week, got about 25 yards. He just scored twice. That is not something you can rely on in cash games. LA Chargers doesn't sound like a good situation, of course, with Hunter Henry being out, and there's Kittle. So Kittle's at home. It might be a pay up for tight end week, which means we're going to have to find some other value elsewhere. Looking down this list again, I mean, I know there's guys over here. If you wanted to go back to Waller, you might be all right, but I'm looking. Nothing, Hawkinson, nothing's really standing out. Mark Andrews in Kansas City, that might be a thing. That might be one of the exceptions that we might use if his price is low, but his price is probably fourth or fifth highest of the tight ends. Coming down here a little bit more, Evan Ingram, going to be high priced on the road, not even favored. I don't like the environment. We know Eli threw to Ingram quite a bit. We don't know what the new guy's going to do. Houston, Pittsburgh, this is not a really attractive tight end week. It's just not. So Ertz, Kelce, I don't know. Rudolph is going to be a pay down option, and we know Oakland gives up points to tight ends. That might be a real interesting one. I don't think I trust it for cash. Witten, I would trust probably more for cash. Howard, and Kittle, and that's really about it. So it just doesn't take that much time. You're going to try to put as many of these guys on your list as you possibly can and start fitting them in. Typically, when we go through our builds, we're going to plug in those running backs first. We're going to worry about paying down a little bit for quarterback, and then we're going to probably be paying down in at least 2 spots at wide receiver, and then try to pay down at tight end. So I'll put my running backs in first, then I'll put a tight end in there, then I'll put a defense, one of the cheaper of these defenses that's viable. I'll throw them in there, and then I'll try and get that average remaining salary up, and then I'll mess around with that a little bit, try and find some wide receiver value, which we'll come back to and do in another video, and just kind of go from there and start piecing it together. And then I will build it, tear it down, build it again, tear it down, build it again, tear it down, build it again all week long. And of course, I'm reading other content. I'm reading DFS Army's coaching notes. I'm reading an awful lot of the discussion in our coaching channels here, and trying to read into and ask questions and try to get on those right plays. And then we're going to see where we land for the rest of the week. And those plays will get stronger and stronger and stronger the more you interact, which is why, really and truly, if you're going to be a VIP, you need to be a full VIP, because you get access to the discussion. The discussion's where all the value is, to be quite honest with you. People that sign up under the light membership for the tools only, it's great, but that's more for experienced players that only need the tools, that already know how to play the game. They're already beating the game. If you're struggling or you're wanting to learn a new format like MME or something, then you're going to want the discussion. You're going to want to ask questions and actually have the back and forth discussion that is going to be what guides you and what teaches you and what helps you get to be a better player. That I just cannot stress that enough. The coupon code CHOP, CHOP, is what's going to trigger 20% off of the VIP membership. I don't think that it works on the light membership anymore, which means that the light members are really only $4, $5 away from a 20% discount of the full VIP anyway. So for $5, if you're already spending $35, why the heck wouldn't you spend an extra 5 and unlock the actual discussion that's going to make the difference? Either way, do what you want. Ask me questions on Twitter. Ask me questions in the YouTube comments, whatever you want. I am not a real pushy sales guy. I do bring it up and mention it a lot because I believe this is the best community out there. But I'm not going to push you. If you want to become a member, you know where to find me. You know how to ask, and you certainly use that coupon code CHOP, CHOP, and at least get yourself a little bit of savings, because I'm not here to take your money for myself. I'm here to cover the costs of the website. I mean, I'm an employee here, but I mean, we're here to cover the cost of the website and the tools and the production and things like that that have to happen so that people do have stuff to look at. But we'd rather you keep the majority of that money in your bankroll. We're not here to charge you $200 or whatever across a season. We just don't feel that that's that important to really take the money out of your pocket like that. We'd rather see you win those contests and get up maybe out of the nickels and get into the quarters. And maybe by the end of the year, that's what we're doing. So we'll focus a little bit more on that as we go, a little bit later into the week. And we'll just pack this one up and head on out of here. So hopefully you guys ring the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. And most importantly, use that coupon code CHOP if you want to become a member inside DFS Army today and start talking on a little bit deeper level. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you really soon.